Welcome to Commercial Kitchen Chronicles, the original food service equipment repair podcast built by technicians for technicians. Whether you're on the front lines of repair, keeping the kitchen running smoothly, or just passionate about the food service industry, this podcast is your go-to source for expert insights, tech tips, and real stories from the field. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Commercial Kitchen Chronicles. Tonight, I am joined by a very special guest, Brad Adcox, one of the best beards in the HVAC game, and he just happens to work with another great beard, and Mr. AK, what was it?
AKA HVAC.
AKA HVAC, Andrew Greaves. Yep. So two of the best beers, and they both are at Navac, which is kind of crazy. But what's going on, buddy?
Oh, it's another day. Can't complain, but I will say Andrew will always win the beard game. He just has the beard of wisdom that I don't know if I could ever get to that.
Man,
It takes all that years of hard work in the field, and I'm just a sales guy. I'll
dude,
never amount to that.
mine is so patchy and so thin. My buddy, we were talking before I got on here, and my friend, he was like, hey, he's like, I just bought this beard growth kit. He's like, I'm going to try to grow mine out. He's like, you got to do it too. And I'm like, no, dude, mine's bad. So
I don't know. I don't know if I could ever believe in those growth kits. I would love to know any success stories that are true. Because I get asked all the time, what did you do? And I just said genetics. I was blessed. That's about it.
Nice. Can't beat that. So you are the national accounts manager, is that right?
National sales manager. So basically what that title entails is I call on most of our big accounts, any accounts, distributors that reach national, that are going to touch pretty much all the 50 states, more than just one region. I do a lot more than that. I do a little bit of everything, kind of wear a lot of random hats over there. Lately, I've been driving that Harley Davidson you guys are seeing that we're giving away. Me and that Harley and trailer have become best friends for the last 20,000 miles. So since August, me and that trailer have logged 20,000 miles, taking that Harley to events coast to coast.
Yeah, I've been hoping to catch you coming through Indiana at some point, but I don't think I'm going to catch you. So when you guys giving that thing away?
End of March. So right now it's pretty easy. So anybody listening, if you buy any Navac tools, for every dollar you spend is an entry. So you go buy a vacuum pump or something like that, $300-400. Guess what? 400 entries. Keep in mind, it only takes one entry to win this thing. So your odds are pretty good if, hey, A2L's coming out, you need to get a vacuum pump, recoveries, and hoses, add up the points. You never know. I might be dropping that trailer right in your driveway, unloading a bike, and handing you some keys. Because at the end of it, I will personally deliver it wherever it goes.
Nice. That's a pretty cool little part of it. So where's that bike at right now?
It is currently sitting in my shop. I could walk right out, and I see it every morning. So I've kind of just held on to it throughout this giveaway. It kind of just travels where I travel. It's definitely been an experience. A few long drives with the trailer. Um, Getting in trouble following the GPS on roads you're not supposed to be on. Yeah, we've had a good time with it, but it's going to end up in March. So get those entries in. Right now, actually, it's December. So that means double entries.
Nice.
So right now, anything you buy is double the points. For every dollar, you get 2 points. So this is the time.
Any Navac tool qualifies, huh? Or is it certain
Anything.
ones?
Nope.
Nice.
You can get something as small as a flare gauge, all the way up to a 12 CFM vacuum pump. Whatever your heart desires.
Nice. That's good. That's good to know. So you guys better get in on that and get your chance to win that bike. I'd be in trouble if that thing showed up at my house. That's how I ended up with a Jeep. I wanted a bike, and my wife said no, so I got a Jeep.
Hey, but that's a fair trade, I will say.
Yeah,
It could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, it could have been a lot worse. I'd have been divorced if I brought a bike home.
It's okay. I just brought a bike home, and my wife didn't know about the giveaway yet. So I played it off as a, hey, it was a good deal.
Real good
Yeah,
deal.
the look I got wasn't that good of a deal. So it's been an interesting. The thing about that Harley is it's a different. It's not a stock bike by any means. So a lot of the times when you win these, they're stock.
Yeah.
When I went to the Harley dealership, I basically asked, "Let me see everything." I don't know anything about the new Harleys. I haven't bought a new bike or even thought about a new bike. So they're all liquid cooled now. So when I talked to Navac, I said, "How crazy do we want to go with this?" And the words back was, "Make it loud and have fun with it."
Oh boy.
I
You
didn't. I was like, "What's the but?" I didn't hear. Okay, that's
no
fine.
budget?
Let's go.
Yeah, let's go.
So they gave me a number, and I giggled at it, knowing that I wasn't gonna go near it. I was gonna surpass it. So before I could get any farther, put an engine kit on it. So the bike has a stage 4 Screaming Eagle kit on it. So it's got upgraded exhaust, cams, lifters. It's got 140 horsepower in a little motorcycle. It's fast.
Nice.
So whoever wins this thing, you're getting a souped up little hot rod for a motorcycle. It's not just a, hey, I'm gonna go just cruise around town. It's fun.
So, what is it a little tricycle or a little bike that someone's always riding? I see meeting you up somewhere.
Oh, so we keep two little, what I think they call it, fat boy BMX bikes.
Is that what it
So
is?
they're little BMX bikes, but they have full size like BMX handlebars.
Yeah.
So grown ass people can ride them. And the weight limit on them is crazy. It's like 400 pounds.
Nice.
So we have a good time just keeping them in a trailer. And then, hey, you want this Navac hat? Ride this, go through the cones, let's see you do it. So everybody tries it, but most of the time someone has a kid and they find it, and I lose it for the rest of the day. They're
Nice.
just cruising around the show.
So is the bike is the Harley and the bike's gonna be on display at AHR this year?
The Harley definitely will. I'll have the bikes. Do
Probably
I
get
bring them? Do
probably
I
get
bring them in? Um, you know what? I will say it here. I will bring them in, but I do know that someone out of all of our influencer friends, they're gonna jump on one and you're gonna see it cruising down those aisles where you can barely walk down already. So there might be some races going, but you know what? We'll bring them out because they're fun. They're really easy to ride, surprisingly. And honestly, our director of sales, Keith, they're his favorite.
that's
If
fun.
you take him anywhere, he's the guy that's always on.
That's cool. That's cool. So let's talk about. I mean, we had Navac on earlier in the year, and you got roped into doing something, so you couldn't make it that day. But I really appreciate everybody coming on. I really appreciate you coming back on now and making up for it. But let's talk about some of the tools Navac has. I mean, Navac has a really big lineup, and it's from the smallest to pump to the biggest to pump. I mean, they got some pretty cool stuff they're working on too. I keep seeing pop up over on LinkedIn.
So honestly, Navac's one of the places that has a little bit of everything.
Yep.
So when we make tools, we manufacture our tools, we want to look at every tech from the tech that, hey, I'm just starting, I can only afford this. Cool. But we're going to make you a model that is going to last you forever because we want you to get that kind of the best way I like to describe it is in cars. You're going to get that Honda Civic cost, but guess what? You're getting all that bells and whistles of that BMW for that cost. So you're getting a lot more for your money. And that goes for anything from our vacuum pumps. We go from zero point 0.5 CFM all the way to 300 CFM. So we are the only manufacturer that can do residential, commercial, industrial. We got it all. Even some manufacturing. So we have a whole nother side called Navac Vacuum that deals with that entire side that gets into pumps that are in sizes I've never seen that are oil-free rotary driven. That's a whole different world. So when they go in talk in that world, I just kind of smile going, oh man, I need to go back to school or something for this. Well, Navac's innovative. We're always inventing new tools. So whenever we bring out a new tool or even bring out a tool to the market, we make sure that one, it's totally different. It's innovative. It's going to be doing something to make everybody kind of turn to it and go, either why didn't I think of that, or thank God they thought of that because this is going to make my life so much easier. So we got all the power tools. I like to call them the Power T3. So you got the flare tool. Flare tool is huge. The flare tool out of the entire Navac gamut is my favorite
Dude,
because I like to tell people that it's the tool that will make sure that you're home on Fridays.
that thing is slick, man. The first time I got to use one was over the summer. I went out to my friends over at RLS. They had an open house, and Ben Pools of their HVAC Tactical, and he came over, and we had a contest who could press a pre-made flare on versus who could make a flare. And that dude, that flare tool was right there with pressing it, man. It was right there, dude. It was crazy how fast that thing does it, and they're perfect every time. You set it in that little block, it sets the depth, you slide the tool on, you press the button, it makes it, backs it out, pop the tool off, and you're done. I was like, holy, this thing is perfect every single time.
That is one of the tools I tell everybody, just pull the trigger on it.
Mm.
And they always say, well, why? It's the biggest callback everybody gets is because guess what? Your flare's leaking.
Yep.
Something right there is leaking, and you're going to take easily 20 minutes to 45 minutes to drive to that site. Another hour maybe if you're lucky to find where that leak is. And then you're going to look at it, it was your flare the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
So if you would have just flared correctly and remembered your flare net, remember your flare net, remember your flare net, and I'll repeat that 100 times, remember your flare net. As long as you got the perfect flare, the flare net torqued down, you're good. You're perfect. Because there's something in this industry that everybody still thinks that everything has to be as tight as possible. No, these things are designed a certain way. So it's exactly like those flares, they're not made to be so tight they'll never come back off. They're made to be just snug.
And that's why you guys have that torque wrench. That's the torque wrench I use, and I love it. I bought it because I had a normal torque wrench, and I was doing my mini split, and I wanted a new tool, so I bought the torque wrench. I couldn't justify the flare tool for one mini split, or I would have one of those too. But I bought the torque wrench, and that it's money, man.
I use that torque wrench on everything.
Mm.
And keep in mind, everybody, I don't do much service. If any, I go on sites with anybody who invites me and we play, and you show me most likely, hey, put it there, do that. And I just try. So I use that thing anywhere on cars, the tractors. I use that thing constantly out here. So it has become one of my favorites because I get to see a senior tech that will take 3 or 4 of the presets and set them to different equipment, sign it over to their green guy, and say, hey, remember, whenever you're doing this mini split from Daikin, whoever, this is the one you need to use. Do not go off this preset. Everything that you're going to be touching is this preset. And it just teaches those guys that, hey, torque correctly, guess what? We're not going to come back on this job or break it. Because that's
Mm-hmm.
another thing. A lot of this equipment isn't made like it was in the 90s, early 2000s. They're
Mm-hmm.
cramped, and you can sneeze on them and things are just going to break, or they get delivered already kind of damaged, and you got to
Mm-hmm.
dent away a little bit with the customer and say, hey, you think you want this? I think
Yeah,
it's okay.
I was the guy that just torqued the living crap out of it, and I'm not a guy you want torquing the living crap out of it because you're not really getting it off. I've you know torqued on some stuff, so most guys don't like following me up. So I'm sure 95% of everything I ever did with a flare is way over torqued.
It's probably still there today.
Yeah, oh
It's
yeah,
now a monument.
it's fused together. You're not getting it apart.
It's fused together with your signature. Pat was here 2006.
So
Yep.
I teach refrigeration a couple times a year for an organization called CFESA, and it's the Commercial Food Equipment Service Association. That's like the sanctioning body or not profit that sets up like training and like standards for my industry, because I'm a food service guy at heart.
Yeah.
And we do some mock-ups and we make the guys flare. Like because we have to reuse the mock-ups. We can't braze everything in, so we make them flare, and I make the guys sign the flare and I put their initials on there, so I know who did it if it leaks, so I can make them redo it, just so they learn why it leaks. And but I made them all do the manual way, and they were all hating my guts. They're like, "Well, we know you got all these fancy tools. You didn't bring a flare." I was like, "No, you guys got to learn the easy way. You got to learn the hard way before you can have the easy way."
Well, I sat in on a class that a college was giving up, and they were talking about manual flares.
Mm-hmm.
How everybody thinks they can do a manual flare. In the past, I've done some smaller flares. I'm like, "Psh, yeah, I can do a manual flare over and over." So what they did in that class was 5 flares, everybody do them, and we're gonna check everybody's flares. Yeah, I didn't do good at all. All 5 of mine leaked. So I came home and I had 1 block, and I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna sit here till I get this perfect." And I probably wasted, I'll be honest, probably an entire roll of copper trying to teach myself perfectly to get it perfect every time. And I never got it. And I'm like, "Okay, now I see it."
You're good. You
Because
guys, good.
oh, no, just because before I'm not one installing mini splits all the time. I'm in my head, I'm thinking 1 or 2 flares here and there, okay. But when I learned that, hey, we're doing up to 50, okay, yeah, there's no way all 50 of those are gonna be even close to each other. So that's when that tool comes in.
Well, you guys have probably the best flare gauge on the market. Like to check your flares to see if they're good or not. Like your guys' gauge is like legit.
Oh, I would totally agree, as long as people know how to read it. So our flare gauge has your sizes,
Mm-hmm.
and most people think, hey, when I'm reading a depth gauge or even a thread gauge, it needs to just sit and go through. Not with the flare. There's a tiny little lip on the middle of it, and all you do is you take that flare and it sits on that lip. If it goes through, you don't have a good flare. But if it sits on that little lip in the middle, guess what? Your flare is perfect. But if you on the job and for some odd reason that flare came uncalibrated, it's just not right, that flare gauge will help you calibrate. So in front of the tool, there's a little Allen wrench that comes with it. Put it in
Mm-hmm.
the front of the tool and do a couple test flares and keep testing it to that flare gauge. And guess what? You just recalibrated your tool on the site and you're ready to go again.
I didn't know that was even an option. That's really cool to know. So you don't have to send it off to be recalibrated. You can just do it yourself and get some scrap pieces of copper and get it dialed back in and get back on it.
Exactly. Well, you said send it back off. Let's back up to any Navac tool.
Okay.
So you walk into any of your favorite distributor, you buy your favorite Navac product. If at any time that Navac product breaks for some odd reason, you have some issue with it, you need to warranty it. Normally, guess what? You go back to that wholesaler, you put it on the counter, you got a vacuum pump, they're gonna say, hey, I gotta send it off. It's gonna be gone for what, 6 weeks?
Mm-hmm.
But you're still working.
Yeah.
You're forced to buy another one.
Mm-hmm.
We warranty straight over the counter. If you have an issue with our pump, that wholesaler is gonna walk you over to the Navac shelf, grab you your pump, walk you back over, put it in front of you, write out the ticket, you're on your way. They deal with that old pump. You just got a brand new one in the box.
Dude, that's sweet. That's really good to know.
But keep in mind that they need to be within their warranty time. So
Yeah.
all Navac products have different warranties of 2 to 3 years, depending on what you're looking at.
Nice, nice. That's good to know. So we talked about the flare tool. That thing is pretty sick. Let's talk about the tubing bender, the battery powered tubing bender. That thing, I see some guys showing that thing off and doing some pretty cool stuff with it. It makes me jealous. I know it's going to make Rich jealous, but he wasn't here, so he's going to miss out talking about this tool. But that thing, it's pretty slick, man. You guys are cranking out some pretty cool stuff.
The bender's one that, as a smaller person, that I mean, I can't just straight crank 7/8 all the
Hmm.
time. So when it comes to that, it's a breath of fresh air for me because guess what? It's push button. It won't crank past the 90. So guess what? If you had the Power T3, you could just never think about your fittings bucket again because you can make your own fittings on the site. So the big thing about the bender is you're making the perfect bed. You're
Hmm.
not making any creases in the copper. But I always tell people when using any of the products, I don't care if you're manual flaring, you're just using copper in general. make sure you're using good copper nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of the copper that you get from the supply house, it might be some cheaper stuff. You thought you got a great deal on it. You go to unwind it and it toggles out on you. I've
Mm-hmm.
seen it happen to me a few times just thinking, hey, I'm only making a few flares to demo. Let me get some, I don't need the nicest stuff. But now I buy the most expensive copper we can get because guess what? It's what you should be using anyways.
Mm-hmm.
But with the bender, it's made it's got a kick plate on it. That's my favorite feature on it because using the manuals, guess what? That copper gets stuck inside of it.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're sitting there trying to get the tool out. I've seen people throw it on the ground. So now, one, you're damaging the copper, you're damaging your tool, and it's stuck in there. So that kick plate helps you manually fully release it with all you're doing is pushing your foot forward, pushing it back.
That's cool. That's cool. What other hand would you guys have a battery powered Swager, correct?
Correct. So all of our power tools, we also have manual versions.
Yeah.
So we have the Swedger so the Power T3 comprises of a flare tool, battery, bender, battery, switch tool, battery. All those batteries are interchangeable with each other.
Nice.
So it's easy to always have a full battery. And honestly, people always ask, how long do your batteries last? I would love to see someone use one of those tools for a full 24 hours and kill a battery. Because most of the time, like at AHR, we run those tools all day long doing hundreds and hundreds of flares, bends. We don't swap batteries during the day. Well, I'll be honest, we have a backup underneath still charging just in case. But normally, we're good all day. And that's with us doing demos, you guys doing demos. I'm very proud of those batteries.
That's
Is
good.
it?
That's a hot move. So yeah, those things are definitely getting some use at AHR.
Oh, it's amazing. I would invite anybody to come to the booth and see the copper pile on day 3 because it's insane.
Just
I,
burning
I
through
just
it.
look at it and smile. I bet you we can make a snowman out of it if we tried hard enough. There's so much copper there.
That's funny. That's funny. That's cool. So those hand tools are, I mean, if I did a ton of installs or like mini splits, I'd have all of them. You know, if you're doing a ton of flares, I mean, nothing beats having that. I played with it for a while at RLS, and I was in love with the thing. I was like, this thing is amazing. So,
You know, we also have probably the best manual swedge tool,
yep, yep.
and we have a little tiny handheld one that folds up, and you just press it in and just go around, keep going around. That is one of my favorites because guess what? Doing my quarter, I don't really want to use a tool. I'll be honest. I kind of just want to do it myself to make
Yep.
sure I get that fit I want. And with quarter, I want it to be a little more snug than normal,
Hmm.
and then I'm good to go.
Yeah, I've noticed that with my because I have a spin swedge. I notice it just destroys quarter. Like everything I've ever tried on quarter inch, it just pretty much mangles it. So I'd have to check that out because I do a lot of quarter, a lot of 5/16 for like my small reach in stuff, and
Yeah.
I don't like using fittings. If I got to change some pipers and stuff around, I'll use all one piece of tubing and I'll swedge it on both ends or whatever, just so I'm not having, I could reuse what's in there, but I'm using 3 or 4 couplings or 90 when I can just hand bend it or use a bender, bend it, swedge it on one end and be done with it. It's cleaner, less chance for leaks, but some of those swedgers just blow it up. So or it gets lopsided and stupid and like one side swedged and the other side straight. And it's just it kills me. So that tool, I'll check that out.
Oh, that's one of my favorites, and everybody laughs at me, and I just thought about it, but I will put our tube cutters against anybody's on the market because I don't even people don't realize how smooth a tube cutter can go
Hmm.
until you use kind of a nicer one. The
Yeah.
blades we use are a little bit different. The roller bearings we have are a little bit different. So you can watch us like I'll use AHR as an example. We'll roll a full rollout of copper down the whole roll before people start showing up. I'll sit on one side, someone else is on the other side, and we just both have a cutter. Within probably, I don't know, 5-ish minutes, that whole roll's gone.
Uh,
It, It's just easy.
My son learned that lesson a couple weeks ago. We did a walk-in freezer install, and I've got just some old Lennox cutters I've had, and they're dull, they're terrible. And he just used to crank it on those things. And the guy I work with had a brand new, nicer. I'm not sure what brand it was, but it was a nicer one. And my son just started cranking on it. And he just like smashed the pipe. He's like, "What the heck?" I was like, "Dude, that thing's not what you're used to, man. It's got a big, nice handle on it instead of like a little screw." He was just smashing the pipe. I was like, "Chill out, dude. Just get it snug. Spin it a couple times to get it snug." And I was like, "That's what a nicer tubing cutter will do."
Tube cuts make me laugh because growing up, I didn't really think about it. I just kind of cranked it down, crank it, go, oh, it's cut off. Oh, it's good enough. But watching a lot of people, especially AHR, again, people cut some pipe and they either do it where they barely get it snug, do a couple circles, just like you were explaining, or man, they snug that down to I'm like, how are you even turning that? You just dented it, but it cut. Okay. If you're good with working at it, I hope you can braze.
Oh yeah, and then you look at the quarter inch, and it's really like an eighth inch by the time it gets done because it's so smashed down.
Yeah.
I will score quarter inch and break it before I smash it because I've just seen it in the past. That's why I do a quarter inch. Everything else I just go with, but it's kind of hard to get a reamer in that quarter inch to clean that stuff up if you smash it down. So
Yeah, you're just gonna cut. That you're kind of just there.
yep, you kind of do what you got with. So let's get into pumps because I know that's what your guys' bread and butter is. I mean, you guys have got pumps for pumps for pumps. I mean, you guys were, were you guys the original battery powered one?
We are the OG when it comes to batteries. So
Yeah.
when it comes to battery vacuum pumps, we invented it. We pioneered it. When it comes to a battery pump, if you're gonna buy one, go our way. And I'm not just saying that because I am Navac. There's a difference in battery pumps. And here, I'll touch it real quick since I kind of brought it up. You have battery pumps, and a lot of people have them now. You have different battery platforms. So you
Mhm.
have, for example, like a drill battery. The inside of that battery is going to tell you 0 to 100 as soon as you push on, just like you would with an impact. As soon as you push that trigger down, it's 100%. It's ready to rock and roll. And then you have another battery that slowly turns on and ramps up and amps up higher and higher and higher. So if you plug in your vacuum pump today, do you hear that motor go from 0 to 100 right away? Or do you kind of hear that motor start working from a 0 to 25 to
Mhm.
50 to 75? And then you hear it. She's rocking and rolling.
Yep.
So when you turn ours on, that's what it does. It works just like your plug-in. All you're going to do is you're going to hear the battery turn on, and it's going to tell that pump, hey, we're working today. And it's going to know, hey, let's ramp up. We're starting 25%, 25, 50, 50 to 75 to, hey, we're at 100. Let's rock and roll. It gives that entire system time to know we're doing something. Where everybody's working, let's communicate. Now with your drill battery, once you push that on button, it's 0 to 100 real quick. Yeah, guess what? One, you kind of just kick the system. You just kind of shocked everything. What just happened?
Mhm.
But it's also really hard on the tool. And when people are like, well, it's working still. I've done it 100 times. Yeah, you have. But what about 101, 2, 3? Because guess what? My pickup's brand new and I can romp on that pedal. Yeah, it will do it every time for a short amount of time. You can't run something at 100% of the time because guess what? There's nothing we own that can do that. You're going to run into issues. And that's what's kind of coming up is people are like, well, what happened? I've only had it 2 days. Well, how long have you ran it? Well, I ran it for a full 24 hours changing out the battery. Well, can you keep your foot on the pedal in your truck for 24 hours? No. Well, that's kind of what happened.
So I got a couple questions here before we get too far away from the tubing cutters. Matt, the HVAC doctor, wants to know if you guys have or plan on coming out with a electric tubing cutter, battery powered.
An electric tubing cutter. We've looked at it. Can I say yes or no? I'll give one of these. Mhm. Um, it would be cool. Don't get me wrong. I think that I would love for us to have one. I think sooner or later you'll probably see something along the lines. But the issue with the tubing cutters that are out now, they're good. They're badass. I have them. I use them. But when we bring out a tool, I can't have it be just like that
Oh
or a
yeah.
version of that with some different. I got to figure out a way
The-
that to make it innovative enough to where when you both look at it, I want Pat in the States to go, ooh, yeah, that's nice. And I want Matt in Canada to go, hey, bring it up here. This is what I need. So we can't just have it be another, just a color change. We have to make it different. So
yeah.
as soon as we can figure that out, guess what? I would love to say, hey, Navac's coming out with it. But until then, I will say it's on the chopping block. It's there. We're trying. So keep that in mind. We're trying. But when it comes to tools like that, it has to be different. And it's not different like, hey, they threw a flashlight on it. Ooh, no. It needs to be totally different.
So back to the battery powered pump. What all sizes do you guys offer in that battery powered vacuum pump?
So as of today, we have a 2 CFM and a 4 CFM. Now, the 2 CFM does a little bit of a smaller battery. 4 CFM can handle the smaller battery and our larger battery. And then coming into 2025, we're going to offer 3 models. So you will have a 2, 4, and a 6 CFM. And
Nice.
then you can also purchase them in different styles. So you can either purchase it as a full kit that comes with a Navac battery, or you can purchase it with no battery at all, and then you can use a Navac battery or a DeWalt battery.
Nice. Nice. That's good to know. It's good to know. So what about, let's get into this, the regular pump lineup. Like you guys have, I mean, I guess it's not really a regular lineup. I mean, a plug-in style pump. You guys have a ton of different options. I know you guys have, launched all your A2s, your A3 stuff. Let's talk about that.
I mean, honestly, you go from the batteries being kind of the smallest. We go from so 2 to a 4, and then jumping over next year, we're going to have a 5 CFM, and then you're going to jump from a 5. You kind of go to our 6 where that battery would sit, and then 7, which we have a 7, which you can do in a non A2L, A2L, and then you got the A3 model.
Yep, and that's what I have. And
Is that
that thing impressed me, man. I used it on that walk-in freezer, and I was like, I got it running. I went and did some other stuff, and I came back. I was like, whoa, I'm under 1,000. I was like, oh, I'm down to 350. I was like, sweet, let's go.
that little? And I call all our pumps little, and
Yeah, it's
everybody's like, "Why do you call them little?" I'm like, when you look at them, you think you have a case of a toy. It's not the real thing. There's no way that
hmm
this is the full gambit. This is no way this is the full system.
hmm
Because even like the seven only weighs in a little over, it was a little under 27 pounds, I believe. It weighs nothing. For you to
yeah,
carry that onto the job site is pretty simple compared to a lot of its competition that's in the 40s,
hmm
a little handheld, almost some in the 50s. So to carry that from your truck, most of the time these guys are going up the stairs or down into basements. It's
hmm
kind of hard to carry that weight. So we have the 7, and I'm glad to hear that you enjoyed using it. That's one of my favorite looking pumps,
Oh yeah, it's cool.
and
It's small. I can't believe for 7 how small that thing is.
it's it's perfect
hmm
size. And for like the A3 side of it, that pump's going to be different
hmm
because of like the internals. Ooh, let me get this right. The internals is a ESD safety. So it basically what it's saying is all the materials on the inside is spark proof, mission proof. There's no way that anything inside can do anything catastrophic when it comes to A3.
So it's just like my
So
A3, my controls, my compressor, everything on that, that propane or butane unit is all sealed. It's all spark proof. So it's
mm,
right along the lines of everything in there. So I don't have to worry about, I've been using just a standard vacuum pump and I never even thought about it. I mean, I've changed parts and I'm pretty good about purging. I always check to make sure I get everything out, but you never know. You start pulling a vacuum, you're pulling, you got that gas and that oil and that compressor and it's
mm.
starting to pull out. I mean, you could screw up.
And you also have to think about like the electronic side of it. So A3 electronics all have to be I-54
Mhm.
electronics. So with that being a class, you don't meet that, you can have those issues also.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, with A3, you're not just worried about the pump, you're worried about your electrical components. You're
Mm-hmm.
worried about everything down to how it was plugged in.
Yeah. And that thing's got like a 10 or 12. I mean, that thing's got a long cord on it, man.
Those do have pretty long cords on them, and most of the time, that's just to help you not have to get an extension cord out, so that way you have the full power.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
we all know what happens when you get out that 200-foot extension cord and plug it in. Yeah,
The voltage.
I you vote, ooh, and that's where the battery pumps come in. Guess what? You don't have to worry about the extension cord. But when it comes to all the A3 pumps, actually, pretty much 99.9% of all the Navac pumps all have all their certifications, and I'm going to make sure that I have them all right because there's one that I had to double check. So they're all UL and CSA, and then the one I had to double check for because it's A3 is the IEC. So it meets everybody's guidelines by those companies stamp. And there's a lot of people that I would be curious that just stamp like the UL stamp
Mhm.
on their box without going through the actual process of getting it fully verified and certified through UL.
So Nasty wants to know what voltage is a 300 CFM pump.
Ooh, that actually would be a great question on the vacuum side. I could figure that out, and if you want, Pat will let me remember who you are, and I'll post it on my Instagram.
So Nasty HVACR. So it's Pat.
Okay.
And be looking for that, Pat. He's gonna put it out there. That's a good question. I man, that's gotta be a big one. I've got a 12 CFM industrial one I won from is it Mike Delissi?
Yep, same guy who would know the answer to this question.
So I won it off him. I followed him on Instagram and I won one. So I've got a 12 CFM. It's on like a cart with like a little handle you can pull behind you. And so I'm waiting. I got a unit here I want to fix the house and just to make some content with it, fix it. And I want to pull. It's like holds like 3 or 4 ounces of R290. And I want to pull a vacuum on it with that thing just to do it, just to get people's reaction. So
I'm waiting for that. So that pump, that one that you have actually comes in two versions.
mhm,
No, I like three versions. So you got that industrial size one, the white pump on the cart,
mhm.
and then you have our 12 CFM that is pretty much the same pump, but we threw everything in a residential format so you can actually carry it. And then that pump also has its brother that they look identical. You throw the oil mister off, and you've got an ammonia pump. So now you have a 12 CFM pump good for ammonia.
Nice, nice. Yeah, just you guys' lineup is huge. So, what other pumps do you want to talk about? Vacuum pumps, and then we'll get into some reclaimers and some of the other stuff you guys offer. But I mean, you guys literally have a vacuum pump for every application out there.
Definitely. We got a vacuum pump for everybody. It kind of fits. Hey, do you want good, better, or best? Do you
Hmm.
want digital readouts? We got it. We have a 8 CFM smart pump coming out in 25 that actually is going to go to your phone. It'll run through the Navac app. It'll run through Measure Quick. There's also a version that has a Bluetooth gauge built in the back. You can pull it off and put it down the line. It's going to be a badass pump.
Nice, nice. That's cool. Now let's get into reclaim machines because you guys got quite a few different ones of those as well.
Right. So you got kind of the same way, good, better, best. And we built these specifically for the application of what you guys are working on. So like the NR7 is the smallest they come. That is perfect for every single residential application and some commercial. Can it do big commercial? Yeah, definitely. You're just going to wait a little bit. It's just like the rest of our stuff. Comes in a very small package, but guess what? It delivers that knockout punch. So that one comes at a great price point. It's got oil filled gauges, one single turn knob, simple, easy. And I haven't heard of anybody using it that's actually had to use a chiller or keep some type of ice bath with them. They're just sitting there reclaiming. So once you go from that one, you got its older brother. That is going to be the NRDD, which now this one's perfect for, hey, if you're going to do commercial,
Mm-hmm.
perfect. You're going to do residential, perfect. That's kind of your all around pump for kind of just, I call it your everyday tech because most techs do residential and commercial. You don't see much guys that just sit on one side or the other. And if they do, they have one or the other. And then you bump it up to our 4-cylinder. So our 4-cylinder is as big as it gets. This is the kind of the guys that are doing that heavy commercial, industrial, manufacturing. They're up there doing the big stuff. So it's kind of, hey, what are you working on? Okay, this is the one you want, and this is why you want it. It's just all of our pumps, like the NR7, it's a little bit different. You open it, and you open its competition next to it, you're going to see some differences. So, like its radiator that's inside of it, that I'll call it,
Mm-hmm.
is dual coiled, and it's all on one side, and it's about twice the size of anybody else's. So guess what? You got twice the cooling going on in that one machine. You got an oversized fan blowing over all the internals, keeping all those cool at all times. So there's ways to make that tool more effective for you, more efficient, and we made it a little more innovative to make it a better version of something smaller. It's 20-ish pounds that now you can pretty much lug down the back of a moped and go.
Nice. That's pretty cool. Now I've got I've only seen one A3 rated recovery machine, and you guys have it, and I have it on my truck, and I was kind of blown away. I was like, A3. I need to get that thing out and put it to use. I haven't had a chance yet, but it's the NRDDF, so recovery unit for flammable refrigerants. I'm gonna check that out. It'd be pretty cool to see. I'm kind of, it's kind of like, how am I going to recover this? I need to read up on it. I've never, recovered A3, but I think it'd be a cool thing to see and do. It has a purpose. I can see it, especially in office buildings or places like that. Most of the time I'm in a kitchen, so I can get away with just, I'm under a hood or close to a hood. I can just use a hose, get it to a hood, dump it. But, if you're in an office building, we do some office stuff. And you can't just dump that in the air. So you're going to have to put it somewhere. So I'm about to check that out, though, and see what I can do with that.
Definitely check it out. With all the changes, everybody's required to reclaim no matter what refrigerant it is,
Mm-hmm.
just because it's part of the new laws with EPA.
Mm-hmm.
So, like right now, when I go to shows, I will have a residential guy come up to me and be like, hey, why do I need this? I got a bucket and a rag, and I always have to go, don't tell me that. Don't tell me that. Let me explain to you why. Don't say that out loud ever again, please. Because
Yeah.
everybody's listening.
Yeah. And we're taught with, the A3s, propane and 600 just to dump it. I mean, they don't, it's not illegal. It's people in their grills or
No.
everything, dump it. So just, but you get in that office environment or some place that doesn't have a hood or, adequate makeup air, you don't really want to do that. For sure.
No, you guys get to fall into a totally different world. Thankfully, 'cause you're in the kitchen. You
Mm-hmm.
have, hey, we can do this. But guess what? Ours is a little more dangerous on this side.
Yeah. I have a video where I had an R290 unit, had a leaking evaporator. And I charged it up and I'm looking for a leak in the back and I'll see it. And I open the door and I'm literally next to a gas fryer, a gas grill, a gas charbroiler, gas ovens. And I open it up and the evaporator is just spraying liquid propane out. I just close the door. I'm like, yep, needs an evaporator. I'll see you guys later. And
See,
people are
that
lose their mind. I'm like, oh, that's all right.
see, stuff like that, I would have been running out the building here, would be back there just giggling. Hey,
I,
guess what the guy from Navac did? No, I'm out. Goodbye.
It's only 3 ounces. I've got some pictures of ones that caught fire where someone didn't pinch it off very good. And they went to seal it off and it was still leaking refrigerant and they just burned up all the controls and some insulation and stuff. But I mean, it's not bad. Like I said, most of it's, under 5.5 ounces we deal with. So it's not catastrophic. Now, you get over to those European countries and they've got outdoor units that are straight propane and they're heat pump. They're pumping in glycol into the house, so they're using a heat exchanger or something inside of that glycol. But that's when you're going to have this pump. You're going to have to be able to claim 20 25 pounds of propane out of this unit. You're gonna have to put it somewhere. You just don't want to dump all that out. So it's definitely coming, and you guys are ahead of the curve.
Well, the reason to keep in mind we keep ahead of the curve because Navac sells globally. We
Oh yeah.
don't just sell in the States. So I mean, we've had A2L tools, the tools that the States are just seeing now, in the UK for the
Mm-hmm.
last few years, rocking and rolling. That's why when everybody on stateside's like, "Oh man, A2L scary," it's not. It's just another day in the park for Navac. We've been doing it. Our tools are proven already. Let's rock and roll. Let's show you why it's not scary to use this stuff. And we have some of the best trainers in the world. Our education is bar none. You got Andrew Greaves and Jesse Stewart, both NATE certified, both ESCO proctored. So you come to a NAVAC training, you can get your NATE credits. You come to a NAVAC A2L credit, it's ran with them and ESCO. Guess what? You can get your certificate and things for that. Ooh, I'm all by myself. Let's see. Do they have or are working on a leak detector that does A2Ls? We do have a leak detector out now that does. So I guess this is my show for a little bit because shows that I'm still alive and Pat logged off or had an internet connection issues. So I can't see these questions. So if anybody wants to ask any questions right now,
I'm still here.
oh, he is back. See,
My,
look what happens.
my camera died. I looked up and it was flashing red. I hate when it kicks me off because it automatically mutes me too when I'm not muted. So yeah, Austin wanted to know if your leak detector worked on A2L. And I was looking at the website and it says it is A2L compatible. And it says CFC, HFC, HCFC, and blends, and R32 and 454B. So there you go. So it is A2L compatible. So sweet. What else
I
we got?
thought you were giving me the show for the second. I had it. I was about to start the music. I was ready to rock and roll.
No, it just my camera likes to die randomly. It lives on the charger, but occasionally it does die. Brad is taking over. Yeah. So what else? Reclaimer with your reclaim machines. So you guys do a lot more. You have you have scales, you have manifolds, you guys have a digital manifold now. The hose kit. One thing I do want to talk about is this vacuum rated hose you guys have that'll wrap around a 2-liter bottle. That thing is slick.
So we do have every hose imaginable.
Mm-hmm.
So from vacuum, evacuation, whatever you're doing, we got the hose from big boys to your normal small hoses, ball valve hoses. Hey, if you really need it, you can call your local Navac rep and we can get you or custom cut hoses. We can do it all.
Nice.
So like we have, like you mentioned, a little bit of everything. So we are coming out with more and more and more. So for example, next year, if you come to AHR, you're going to see something that you probably wouldn't think of us ever having: mini condensate pumps.
Really?
We're going to have so many condensate pumps that are probably, bar none, the quietest out there. They probably have all the bells and whistles, if not more, than some of the competition. These are ones that I'm personally excited about. A condensate pump. Try to get excited about a condensate pump. It's not a thing. When I saw these, there might have been a little twerk session going on. I was pumped on these. So when we bring tools out, we want them different. For example, like our analog gauges. How do you make analog gauges a little bit different? Well, everybody's is brass and ugly. Let's make them black. Everybody wants their analogs, so let's at least make them look sexy.
Mm-hmm.
Let's make sure they're shock resistant. Let's put some boots on them. Let's give them to a price point that a guy who's just starting goes, "Oh, that black set's way out of my price range." Then they figure it out what the price is, then guess what? They get excited because they're like, "I can get that one." Everybody has that. So it's fun to know that, hey, if you're a digital guy, we got your back. If you're an analog guy, we got your back. You need a 4-port digital? Hey, we got it coming. It's could be there right at AHR. We listen. That's the thing. You talk to Navac, we're gonna take what you guys are actually doing and using, and let's bring it. Let's build it. Let's make sure you guys have it. Because the guys buying the products are the ones using it. So let us know what you like, what you don't like, because we will make those changes. Because at the end of the day, you're the one using it. We want to make sure it has the features you want. And if there's a dumb feature you think is a waste to be on there, let us know. We'll take it out.
Yeah. So we got a couple questions here. Once again, Matt, the HVAC doctor wants to know if you guys have the A2L charging hose or an A2L tank adapter out.
We do. We actually have A2L hoses that are orange that are, hey, these are mainly for A2L. And then you have both adapters, and we have one hose that's already left-hand threaded. So you don't even need the adapter.
Nice.
Personally, if you're going to do it, get the hose. Because right now, if you're using an adapter, you're just creating a leak point in my head. Now, everybody, again, we're going to go back to the beginning of everybody just cranks them down 100 times. You're going to get that adapter on, and you're never going to get it off because you cranked it all the way down.
Yeah. So you guys have just a hose that's reversed on one end and standard on the other, so you can just hook it right up to your existing manifold. Sweet. Nice. That's the way to go.
Existing, straight to the tank, you're good to go.
Nice, nice. So what else you want to talk about, man? We've talked about all kinds of stuff.
Navac is one brand that it's extremely fun to work with because we are always trying to make things funner, newer. Navac really lets us just kind of have fun. We're a little bit of a younger group, so that's why you see us a little bit louder than everybody else, because we like to have fun and we use all our tools.
Yeah.
So any tools that get sent to us, man, hopefully my boss isn't listening. Keith, turn off if you're listening now. I take, this is going to be live and recorded, so you can hear it either way. I take all our stuff to my barn and I damage test. I get up in my hayloft. I take our recovery machine. Oh no, I dropped it. Because guess what? Everybody that's in this chat right now has dropped their tools. And guess what? They've dropped them off a ladder. When my tool hits the ground, I want you to go, oh no, and then look down and it's just smiling back at you saying, I'm ready to go. Let's go. So we like to figure out all those little weak spots, all those little weird things that we think would happen. And then we take it up a notch and make it a very unrealistic environment to make sure that those tools are going to take the beating you guys put them through.
Nice, nice. Torture test, man, because
always.
I've broke a rope. I've had something flip out of a hook, lowering something down off a roof, bounce off a ladder, get knocked off. You got your pump up on top of a rooftop unit, got a hose on it. You're walking, you trip over a hose, you pull it down, knock it off. So
yeah,
anything can happen. As long as you flip it back up and it takes off, hey, I'm happy.
Definitely. If you guys are going around to your local distributors, you don't see us for some odd reason, let your counter guy know, let the sales guy know, hey, we want it, we need it. If we're not going to buy here, we're going to go next door and buy it, because guess what? We want Navac.
Nice, nice. So where can we find Navac at? What's the big supply houses that, if someone's wanting Navac, where can they go find it? I know it's navacglobal.com, but what nationwide chains of supply houses can they get it at?
Ooh, you're trying to get me in trouble with some of my distributors. No, the best way to explain it is, yeah, you can go to the website, type in your zip code, find it all. But I can promise you that we're in a lot of places. So your local distributor, especially this year, most likely has brought on Navac. It's pretty rare that they didn't. And I would run in there first because they probably have it. Any of your bigger guys that you think, yep, I get all my stuff here, most likely have us. There's not one where I could think off the top of my head that, hey, if I for sure go into here, they 100% have it. No, there's a few, but I'll keep it to where I'm not going to get my phone blown up by all of them said, hey, you forgot about me. I don't forget about any of them. But we're in all the majors.
Yep, just go to navacglobal.com. In the top left corner is a button that says where to buy. You can put in your zip code, and it's going to bring up who's closest to you and go support who you support.
And if you don't see us there, you record a video of you raising hell in that distributor. throwing some shit around, saying, I need Navac now, throwing a mini temper tantrum, post it, and you tag me. This is live, so and recorded, so this is me saying it. I will make you a Navac swag pack that has some goodies in it.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Anything else you want to cover before we get out of here? We're coming up on an hour. I don't want to take up a whole lot of your time. I really appreciate you coming on. I know you've been busy. You're actually back at home enjoying some time at the house and not behind pulling a trailer across the country, putting 20,000 miles on a trailer and a motorcycle. So
Home for a little bit, but we'll be back on the road fairly quickly. Anybody who's thinking, hey, I need some new tools, A2L, do your research. See what's on your truck. See what, hey, you know what? This thing was okay. I really don't like it. Is it A2L or can I bump it up? Because some of the stuff is going to be A2L rated already on your truck. You just got to do your research. Always, my big thing is YouTube, and I'll be honest, Instagram. Because if I'm looking for something new and I want a vacuum pump, I'll just type in vacuum pump in either one of them and see what everybody's using and why they're using it. Look at those comment sections. Or you and a buddy go, hey, I'm going to buy this one. You buy that one. Let's try them out together and see which one's actually worth it.
nice.
So there's a lot of different ways to go into, let me try some stuff. Check out any of your distributors. Tell them, hey, let's get a Navac training going. We go everywhere with our Navac trainings, from a vacuum training to recovery trainings, A2L trainings. We got them all. And they're
Nice.
all done by a true technician, either Jesse or Andrew. They're done by a guy who comes from the field. So you can get as technical as you want with them, and they'll be right there with you guys.
Nice. I got one more question real quick. Total Tech wants to know, what's the process for a warranty claim if someone buys a Navac tool from an authorized distributor? We covered this a little bit earlier, but I'll let Brad talk about it again. They've got a pretty good warranty program, man.
So anything that you bought from an authorized distributor, just take it right back to them. And as long as it's in that warranty time frame, that's not like, hey, I got this pump in 2019, something like that. It's still in warranty most likely. They'll just swap it right over the counter, no questions asked. And if it's a little out of warranty, most likely they'll call me or one of the local regionals or representatives, and we'll see what happened. And if it's something little, they'll drive over there with the part and fix it real quick. Because most of the time it's something like, oh, the knob broke or something really odd, and we most likely have the part with us.
Sweet, sweet. All right, well, let's close this thing up. But I want people to be able to find you on Instagram or anywhere else you want to put your name out there. He does some really cool stuff on Instagram. He has fun with his products. He has fun with, the gang on Instagram, all the followers, the people that support Navac and Brad and all those guys. So if you guys want to follow him on Instagram, that's going to be the best place to do it. You want to give your handle out, please?
It's just BTA_HVAC. If you have any questions, feel free to direct message me. I talk to everybody. Now, am I going to get back to you in 2 seconds? Probably not. Give me at least 24 hours.
He's a busy man. If he's not slanging Navac tools, he's chasing cows or working with the family, doing something. So he's
Definitely always doing something. There's not many times where I'm just sitting.
Well, I appreciate you coming on, taking the time to come on and talk about Navac tools and everything else, man. You're a really great guy. You do a lot for Navac. You do a lot for the industry. You support the people out here in the field, and it really shows, man. So thank you.
I appreciate you having me on. I've been looking forward to it. I know it's been a runaround for a little bit, but hey, we'll have another one. We'll keep in mind we got new products coming in 25. I'll have them a little bit before everybody, so we can do a little sneak peek for everybody.
Hey, I'm down for whatever. Just let me know. So
Definitely.
I appreciate it, guys. Have a good night, everybody.
Have a good night.
See ya. Thanks for making it to the end of the show. We appreciate your support. Please remember to like, subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. It really helps us growing. Also, if you'd like to be a guest on the Commercial Kitchen Chronicles, or you know someone that would be a great guest, let us know. Hit us in the DMs or send me an email at pat@commercialkitchenchronicles.com.